Hi everyone. You've likely just completed reviewing a school's role in keeping our kids safe. Since first sharing that video in schools across Canada, we've been asked to address additional questions that were not included in the original FAQ section. And that's what we're tackling today. We're going to share new questions and provide some clear answers from professionals who deal with these situations on a daily basis. Please welcome back Carrie Sanders, and joining us for the first time today, Brianna Highland. All right, let's get to our questions that are being asked by school staff.
Last time I called Children's Services, I was told that I did not have enough information. This upset me because it took a lot of courage to call. Why was I asked to gather more information?
It's a really good question. Carrie?
Under the Child, Youth and Family Enhancement Act, there are some limitations for when Children's Services can become involved. There needs to be reasonable and probable grounds for us to become involved in a family if there are concerns for protection.
If someone is asked to gather more information, what's the best approach?
So the best approach for that is to be able to go back to the child or the student and ask an open-ended question. Something like, can you tell me more about that? You've gained the trust or have the trust of that child, and they may be able to disclose more to you. And that may very much help Children's Services with our involvement.
I'm sorry to hear that. How did that all make you feel?
So sometimes having context for Children's Services can really assist us in determining risk for children. For example, on occasion there's been children that will use the word such as, "my father beats me." And when asked to clarify that or to tell them a little bit more about it, the child will describe, "my father beat me at a video game yesterday when we were playing together." And that really determines for us that that's not a risk or a situation where we need to become involved.
So I've asked my open-ended question to the student and they've replied, but how do I know if I've gotten enough information from them to pass along?
Well, certainly if you get a disclosure of some type of abuse, or if a child expresses any fear or worry, if they talk about secrets or secrets that they should be keeping or at home that they shouldn't be talking about, absolutely that's a call to Children's Services at that point.
Last time I reported suspected child abuse, I was asked to call the parents. This made me feel uncomfortable. Why might Children's Services ask me to do this?
I can totally understand that perspective. If that's not your background and you're not used to having those kinds of conversations, it would be uncomfortable to have to make the call to the parents. So why are they asked to do that?
There may be situations where a call home may give us that little bit of context around something that may be an unclear report or an unclear disclosure that the child has made.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned about your child. I'm just wondering if anything is happening in the family.
There are times where a teacher may call the parent prior to Children's Services becoming involved. In these situations, it can allow us some time to understand some context. An example of this is a child who is continuously not bringing a lunch to school. The interpretation might be that the child is being neglected, is not being fed, or the family is struggling with some poverty issues. When really a call to the parent might provide some context where the child does get packed a lunch every day, he takes his lunch to school, and on the way to school, dumps his lunch so that he can eat what the school is providing and what he prefers. On the other hand, there are times where a call home does indicate that there are concerns that are affecting the child. At times, the school is able to offer resources without involving Children's Services. They may do this by offering their own natural supports that are involved with the school. There are other times where a call home does indicate that there are concerns that need to be addressed through Children's Services. We understand that a call home can be a very difficult call for a teacher to make, especially after feeling like a child is at risk. However, there are times where it provides that extra context in determining if Children's Services needs to be involved or not.
I understand the benefits of the school or the teacher calling the parents because they've developed that relationship, but what if the teacher just is too uncomfortable and can't do it? What happens then?
Sometimes school professionals or teachers aren't comfortable in placing that call to the home, and that's okay. In those situations, know that Children's Services will be taking that information and will be responding.
How and when do we get Children's Services involved if there are attendance concerns?
Carrie?
So attendance on its own isn't really a child protection concern. It can be a sign or a symptom of other things that are going on. But when it's alone, it should be discussed with your school administration or your school team. If there are other accompanying concerns like hygiene or medical concerns or neglect in other areas, then absolutely that can be a call to Children's Services.
What happens after a report is made? What does Children's Services do?
This is a common question. Brianna?
After we receive a report, we review our system and what we know of the family. We're looking for themes and patterns and any other similar concerns that have happened recently. After we collect that information, there are various outcomes that can happen. Depending on the context, some of the possible outcomes are that we document the information, but that it doesn't yet meet our legislation, so we are not able to put it into our information system. In these situations, you may be asked to keep track of the time that you called and who you spoke to. We will be able to pull up that information if further calls are made for context. Another outcome is that the information does meet our legislation and it's documented in our system. In these situations, the information is sent to a worker for follow-up. There are times where the information is determined to require an immediate response. This means that there are imminent safety concerns. These include, but are not limited to, no care provider or no sober care provider, the child has a physical injury believed to be non-accidental, the child refuses to go home due to abuse and the guardian cannot be contacted to plan, the child is actively suicidal and the parents are unable or unwilling to plan, and in cases of severe neglect. Immediate responses always require an investigation or an assessment. This involves interviewing the children, parents, or caregivers.
If there are safety concerns, could the child be interviewed at school? And what would I do in this case?
Brianna?
Based on the immediacy and the urgency, there are times where children need to be interviewed at school. Most of the time when interviews are occurring at school, this is prior to guardians or parents being aware that the interview is occurring.
So not a good day? How come?
Most of the time, though, Children's Services tries to take a collaborative approach involving families in the process, including them when children are being interviewed.
So if I'm the person who has made the call reporting the suspected abuse and the child is interviewed at the school, is anything expected of me?
No, there is no further follow-up required. Children's Services will be notifying the family after the interview has occurred.
Okay, and what about following up with me? Will Children's Services follow up with me who reported the suspected abuse to let me know what's going on?
Children's Services may not reach out to you as a reporter. As a school professional or a teacher involved in the child's life, there may be times where you call Children's Services back to seek out detailed information around what action or steps Children's Services took. Some details need to be shared because they play a significant role in the child's life. This might include intervention where the child has moved placement or any safety planning that may take place that involves the school.
So I'm calling regarding a student that I had reported a couple of weeks ago. I just had some follow-up questions about that.
There are times where information cannot be shared, and this is to preserve and maintain the confidentiality for the family.
So lots of really good information about after the call and following up. But if we take a step back, why is it so important to make that first call if you suspect abuse?
It's really important to note that no matter what your role, whether you're the teacher, the janitor, a principal, people in the community, or friends, that if you have any information where you believe that a child is at risk, that your piece of information could give us that added context to the puzzle that allows us to act.
I've noticed an increase in problematic sexualized behaviors in children under the age of 12. I'm not sure if I should report these concerns or not.
Carrie.
So this is seeming to occur more and more in the society that we live in right now, that this problematic sexual behavior is occurring between these young children. It's really important to know that this is a school issue where the school needs to ensure the safety of all of the children that are involved. This will require making sure that you speak to all of the children that have been affected or been involved in this situation and treat it like any other unwanted behavior, like bullying or other areas where children are acting out. It's really relevant to ensure that you're trying to stay calm and reassure a child. Try to remain neutral when a child is disclosing to you so that they don't get frightened or ashamed or worried about what has happened to them.
with this girl, and she's been bothering me, and none of the teachers will do anything about it, so I came to talk to you.
So once the school has an understanding of what has occurred, it's really important that they contact the parents of all of the children that are involved. It's important to note the parents' responses. Do they show appropriate concern? Are parents able, willing to talk with their children about appropriate boundaries? Have they been struggling with similar behavior at home? If the school has concerns with parents' responses, a call to Children's Services can be made for further guidance or direction. The school will also need to ensure a safety plan is established for the children that are involved. This could be including a supervision that is appropriate for them, or having one child go to the bathroom at a time. So this is not meant to single out or shame an individual child, but just really ensure that there's healthy boundaries for all of the children in the school.
What are the main things that we need to keep in mind when we're dealing with children under the age of 12?
So it's really important to let Children's Services know if you're making a call, are there any previous child protection concerns? As well, it's really important for educators and the school system to be reminding children of the basic rules. It is not okay to look at, show, or touch other people's private parts. It is not okay to use sexual language. It is not okay to make other people uncomfortable with your sexual behavior. It's really important to know that for these children that are 12 and under, that we should not be labeling them. These kids are not sexual predators or offenders. This is like any other unwanted behavior in children. We need to deal with it and help them through this.
Thanks, Carrie. For more information about dealing with sexualized behaviors in students, please refer to the links under this video. Thank you, Carrie and Brianna, for bringing so much clarity around suspecting and reporting abuse. If you've reviewed these 2 videos and the tools on our site and you still have questions, please contact Alberta's toll-free number for Children's Services at 1-800-638-0715. Thank you for helping to keep our kids safe.